South Dakota State. One lucky fan will be walking out of Stambaugh Stadium with a guaranteed minimum of $10,000. Come and watch the parade at 4 o'clock and be there for kickoff at 6.
Why do I get my flu shot at Giant Eagle Pharmacy every year? Because up to 1 in 5 people will suffer with the flu this season. And staying healthy is very important. Because I'm not just a wife or a mom, I'm also a Giant Eagle pharmacist that cares for you and our community.
Count on your neighborhood Giant Eagle pharmacist for your flu shot this season and earn $5 in free groceries. Giant Eagle Pharmacy, your trusted pharmacy for over 30 years. Certain restrictions apply. See pharmacy for details.
Hey, join me, Ron Furbus. I broadcast live Wednesday from Bruno Brothers Pizza in the Star Center Plaza, corner of Lockwood 224 in Canfield, next to the Poorhouse. I'll have Ron Verb specials like 57-cent slices of pizza and half-off gift cards at Bruno Brothers Canfield location.
All right, welcome everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and we're allowed to do a show on Saturdays talking about things that are happening in the technology world. We open the program all show long for all of you anybody who needs a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance, or just wants to talk the topics. Feel free at any point, 330-729-9977, or you can text at 333-1570. Couple times, when news articles come out and new technologies come out and things are going on, we kind of go into that first to kind of let you know what's the pulse of tech and what is to come. We pay attention to social media a lot for sort of as a news source to be able to deliver the things that you're interested in. And you get some polarizing things about politics and you get things that are happening in science. And I really like how that kind of stuff is being delivered because it is context-based, and you'll find the things that you see in social media are different than everybody else because you're being hand-delivered things that make you respond and make you interact with the people who post them. So people who like technology end up liking things and commenting on things that are in a certain area, and then you get more of that kind of content. So my feed is filled with all kinds of really inspirational, all kinds of innovations that are coming up on the horizon. And I assume that all of you see the same things that I do because it would make you feel really good about the economy and really good about, the people behind the scenes that are making all this stuff happen because I love it. I mean, we are, to an extent, all tinkerers, right? And so we dabble in things that interest us, and we spend too much money in areas that interest us because that's really, we find joy in playing with this stuff. And I don't care if it's like audio, video as an expression or creative design where you can, do design rooms or houses or, doing design work in graphics and logos and tons and tons of ways to be able to take your creative outlets and have technology help you to, put them out to the world. And so for those of you who don't usually interact with this kind of stuff, I'm hopeful to try to get you excited about it. Now, I'll tell you, everything in every industry, I don't care if it's politics, I don't care if it's technology, I don't care if it's anything, everything is marketing. And in a polarized world that we live in, your marketing is that you're going to have, no matter what, you can have Girl Scout cookies and you can have a full-fledged argument about Girl Scout cookies through social media because it's all marketing. There are going to be people who like it, people who dislike it, and they're both going to think that the other one's wrong. And that's just how things, play out in our culture. And so what happens from the public standpoint, see, the public has to be in on, we have to buy into something in order for it to have traction. So we can have a technology and it comes on into infancy and there are a lot of holes in it. So you can say that about, Amazon, or you can say that about Tesla, or you can say that about eBay, or you could say that about PayPal. All of these are sort of disruptive companies that brought a technology to the marketplace. And, they had detractors in the beginning and they were allowed to go to fruition. And then so many enterprises and industries are now built upon the technologies that most of you and most of us would have probably, blown holes in at the beginning because of their imperfections. And that's what we do as a culture. We judge all of these things and we poke holes on them. Now, probably the biggest newsmaker is the people who really like Tesla and really hate Tesla. And they're both so passionate about it that they don't like one another. So when it comes to a news article, you can always tell which of the two versions that you're reading. Either someone who's marketing the idea that electric cars are terrible, and people who are marketing the idea that electric cars are the way to go. And there's sort of the middle ground as we go forward, sort of dissipates. It gets, you can't even really, you can't even really notice any common ground between the two. See, I'm an innovator, and so I don't think any industry should have any kind of, any protections against somebody disrupting it and ruining someone's foothold. Now, you can go back to, cable and telephone, where none of the cable companies or none of the telephone companies would have built infrastructure in your neighborhood had it not been for states and cities giving them sort of exclusivity to the neighborhood. So I'm not going to put $1 million worth of infrastructure if after I put the infrastructure in, somebody else can come in and take advantage of what I just did. Same thing like with the drug companies, and same thing with any other innovator. So you have this long track of I'm going to lose money for the hope that I'm going to be able to reclaim my money for a period of time, right? And that's how innovation, the model for innovation should happen. So you had Amazon. Amazon lost money for 10 freaking years. 10 years, lost money. And people who just experience Amazon today cannot even imagine Amazon, the profile of Amazon ever being in a position to lose money. They manufacture, they print it, right? And so, but same thing with Tesla. This morning, somebody sent me an article and said, hey, Tesla lost 480, record-breaking, 100,000 cars sold in this quarter, and they lost $480 million. How can you have success to that level and still lose money? Well, because it's a disruptive technology that investors are funding for a period of time of loss, so down the road they can get that stuff back. And this is being done without exclusivity. There's not let's just say that Tesla said, hey, we're going to build these electric cars, but then nobody else can produce cars for 10 years while we make our money back. That's not happening. So, but you still have this polarized argument between the two, where the internal combustion engine cars, the ICE cars, really don't like the emergence of battery technology. I don't know why. I don't know if you own the stock or you just don't like the status quo, or there's too many hippies that are connected to the electric vehicle, and the smugness that goes along with it. I don't know where the hatred stems from, but still there is that kind of polarization between the two. So let me share with this article that I got sent this morning about the electric vehicles are no more clean than your regular internal combustion engines. And so they took the exhaust output of an internal combustion engine and what its pollution footprint would be on the fuel that is consumed. And then they compared that to an electric vehicle who doesn't have tailpipes, but it has batteries. And those batteries have to be charged. And there's an electric company that has to send electricity to your house to charge those batteries. And that electricity is being produced by either nuclear, natural gas, or coal. Especially in our area, we're mostly natural gas. So you take the footprint of the natural gas and say, okay, well, we're going to say the exhaust that it took to produce the electricity that charged your batteries is X, and then the product of emissions that came from the manufacturing of the battery is Y, and then the pollution from the manufacturing of the body is Z, right? And you add all of that up, and then somebody can come to the conclusion that when you take all the production output, that it is actually dirtier to have an electric vehicle than it would be an internal combustion. And so I can appreciate the mathematics that's going on, where we're trying to get sort of the metrics, and we're trying to be able to compare these things straight out, where, it's a disruptive thing. It's sort of changing the way that is. We got to make sure that that's a pathway that we all support as the public. And if it's an equally as polluting vehicle, well, then all the people who think that it's green energy, that it's really not. It's heavy on technology. It's more expensive because of that. And it's convenient because you plug it in your house rather than going to all of the fuel stations. So you can see there's so many things that get changed as long as you allow Teslas and electric vehicles to take a bigger and bigger share. I mean, what are fuel stations going to do that sell gas when a majority of the cars don't use gas? What's going to happen to all of the vendors that support those gas stations and all of the marketing that those gas stations spend and all of the other things that you sell when you're at the gas station? Well, this sort of reminds me of Napster days, when if we know that in the future half your customers are going to turn into different customers, then it's your job as a business to start accommodating what's going to happen in the marketplace. Or you can stifle it. You can run your marketing and say, hey, I'm not comfortable changing my business model. I like my business model, so let me spend money to try to make people that are running around not buy electric cars so I could stay comfortable in my model. And that's where we come down to. The polarization might not be hatred for the product, but hatred for the change. And I think that, when in any industry, honestly, if somebody comes along and they say and do something different, they're given like this really narrow window to prove that it's a better concept. And I can guarantee you, whenever you do something new, it's never going to be as good as the old, no matter what. So if the compact fluorescent lights, this was the thing. So we had these incandescent lights that were terrible energy wasters. It used electricity, threw off a bunch of heat, wasted a ton of power by using incandescents. And everybody knew that fluorescents were better, but we didn't have a better bulb that could compete for the price. So I'm either going to pay 30 cents for a bulb that wastes a ton of energy. I'm going to pay $13 for one that wastes significantly less. You've got to then go out to the consumer and say, hey, you go buy this bulb that costs 100 times more than what you're used to spending, but do it for the electricity cost. And you look at your electricity bill and saying, okay, well, that bulb will never, ever in a million years pay for itself. I will never be able to claw back enough power consumption, to pay for that bulb. So why would I do it? I wouldn't erect a wind turbine if the cost of purchasing the wind turbine will never be paid for by the energy savings that it would produce. I would never buy a solar panel that would take a lifetime to be able to pay for itself. You can see how all of these equations equal. In the beginning, none of these things make sense. And if you were to judge the entire technology based on how they make sense today, it loses every single time. But when you start incorporating, we did solar panel experiment at my house. I set up a couple solar panels, and the guidelines were it had to be simple enough setup that anybody could do it. So anybody can grab a couple of solar panels, anybody can do a charge controller, anybody can do a power inverter, and anybody could do a battery bank. Build a battery bank, power inverter, charge controller, and a couple of solar panels, and you're on. So the charge controller, basically, when you're receiving power, it's charging a battery, and the power inverter takes DC and converts it to AC so you can actually run things. And what I noticed is I had this battery bank that was capable of charging things, but when I plug small things in it, like light bulbs, I can get 8 hours out of a light bulb. But if I plugged something in like a sump pump, I would get a couple hours, maybe 1 or 2 hours out of that sump pump because it consumes so much more power. So I'm going around and looking at different appliances, and I'm noticing our refrigerators are sort of like our light bulbs, where since our electricity is so plentiful and since it's so cheap, then we don't really concern ourselves with making our refrigerators that use less power. In fact, we put more power into them, and we make condensers more powerful, and we make them bigger so that there's more there's more surface or more inside space to keep cold. And so we end up, I couldn't run my refrigerator on my little solar bank because it uses far too much power. So if we had a concern at saying, even though we don't have to, let's let a company innovate, try to make a refrigerator that uses far less energy, right? Guess what the first iteration would be? It would be an underpowered refrigerator that we'd compare it against the money-wasting one, and then we'd say, yeah, you know what, using less power can't be. Even though in every other industry, when you start to use less power, like LCDs, for instance. LCDs used to be these gargantuan power consumers, and every revision they made less and less, and the components got to be softer and softer, and eventually you're running that thing off 45 watts of power instead of 90 watts of power. They cut it completely, in half. So I think if the innovators were allowed to produce those products, and then we would buy them for the reason, not because we want to be this smug person that cares more about the environment than people's. I'll tell you, I did battery operated. I do all of this solar and technology and solar technology innovations, not for the case of I'm saving the planet, because that's, virtue signaling. And it's not about that. I want superior technologies to win, and I want antiquated traditional to be challenged nonstop, right? So if it's good, if we have a practice that's been around a while, I think it needs to be challenged to see if we could bring it up to today's standards and give it enough time to be able to mature so that, old could be made better. And that's the one thing I hate about our marketplace, is that we're so ingrained on what's familiar to us that we shy away from what's new, and we try to poke holes in the innovators that are coming up and hold them to the same standards that people who've been producing 50 years in the marketplace are. And that's just not fair. I'm a consumer that I'd be willing to buy a product that was, I'm not going to call it substandard, but it's sort of on that track, where it's not quite as good as the energy user or energy waster. So my incandescent bulb, 60 watts, but it made everything bright. And then I bought the 13 watt version, and it took 25 minutes to warm up so that it was half as bright as the old one. Well, somebody's got to buy that first iteration of the bulb, or else we never get to the LED version that's brighter and consume less power because we were so hung up on, being that intermediary between the two. I can tell you electric vehicles are probably where we're headed. If we're not going to do hydrogen powered, so back in the 90s, there was a couple companies that were experimenting with producing electricity from these hydrogen generators where there was zero emissions and you owned your own power company. Your car basically ran for 20 years without any kind of fuel. And your house, you put this box on the back. It uses hydrogen and it goes through a process to make electricity out of it. And then so you were basically off the grid and produce your own deal. Do you see any of those things being produced today? Of course not, because they were very expensive in the beginning. They didn't have enough people that bought into them, and people who were traditional producers bought the technology and they set it on a shelf. So you go look what Dahmer Chrysler did with the car version of it, and I forget who bought it, but Plug Power was the one that we followed in the 90s that did the same thing, but just with the home version, and that was shelved as well. And so these technologies, they have lots of room to run. If we as the marketplace would take it a little bit easier and say, hey, you know what, this coming up technology, let's give it a runway. Let's give it some ease into the marketplace and not be so quick to try to destroy these companies that are just challenging the status quo. Because I'm all about that. That's what innovation is. These technologies have so much room to run. All right, 330-729-9977 is the phone number. You can text me at 333-1570. I'll be checking those text messages throughout the program. We're going to take this break. We'll come back, take some of those calls. 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Sometimes you only have seconds, and the world can change right before your very ears. Stay informed and up to date with the very latest.
We hope for their sake they don't do anything foolish.
On 570 WKBN. From iHeartRadio, #1 for podcasts, She Makes Money Moves.
I'm Samantha Barry, the editor-in-chief of Glamour. In our new podcast, She Makes Money Moves, you'll hear women from across the country sharing their personal stories about their salaries, financial struggles and successes, and the lessons they've learned along the way.
I made about $30,000.
We're not going to be able to afford to keep the house.
Eventually, my credit cards just got maxed out.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-276-1640. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-276-1640. That's 800-276-1640 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-276-1640. 800-276-1640.
Hey, join me, Ron Verbus. I broadcast live Wednesday from Bruno Brothers Pizza in the Star Center Plaza, corner of Lockwood and 224 in Canfield, next to the Poorhouse. I'll have Ron Verb specials like 57-cent slices of pizza and half-off gift cards at Bruno Brothers Canfield location.
So how is the retirement bucket list going? Copeland Oaks can help you find time to start checking off those exciting things on your bucket list. This is Dan Rivers. Choose a lovely, spacious ranch home or apartment and leave the mowing and the painting and the fixing up to Copeland Oaks. The campus offers golf, fishing, hiking, swimming, an active, fun-filled lifestyle. Copeland Oaks Retirement Community, located in nearby Sebring, just off 62, Find them on the web at CopelandOaks.com or visit the campus to see for yourself. Copeland Oaks Retirement Community, beyond expectations and within reach.
Hey, it's Ron Verb for Nature Stone. Nature Stone is the only solution that will stand up to moisture, dampness, even flooding. The only solution when it comes to your basement. So if your basement is damp, dirty, not somewhere you want to spend time, turn it around with Nature Stone. Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of October. Get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate online today at naturestone.com. Russ and Mike gave me a special deal for our listeners. If you buy today and get it installed in the month of October, you'll receive an additional $250 off. Book that free estimate now at naturestone.com.
You want that new or used vehicle, but your credit score isn't exactly what you need? You work hard, you've always paid your bills. Who can you turn to? Hi, this is Tino Merlo from Toyota of Warren. Stop in and see me or my staff. Toyota of Warren's here to help, and we can get you financed.
Has your doctor recently ordered a CAT scan, MRI, or any x-rays for you? Remember, it's your choice where you have your imaging done. And that's why Dr. Adam Crouch and the DMXI team is here for you. DMXI patients save anywhere from 75 to 95% off of their medical imaging. And DMXI is now offering a 64-slice CT scanner for the head, neck, chest, and abdominal regions for the most accurate images. If you need medical imaging, go to DMXI.com and see the DMXI difference. DMXI, just off Todd Avenue in Boardman.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer. This is your Saturday show where we talk about things that are happening in tech. We leave the program open to you all program long, so if you have anything to contribute, feel free. This from Facebook Live. We are streaming on like a ton of servers. iHeartRadio we're on, Facebook Live we're on, YouTube, Periscope, all of those guys. You can always look for our program and take us wherever you are. This is from Facebook Live. Christopher says, did you see that all these Canadian Tesla owners using Smart Summon in parking lots? Yeah, so if anybody didn't know, for people who have been paying for the full self-driving, 2 weeks ago, there was a version 10 of the Tesla software, which allowed sort of driverless sort of executions in parking lots. So let's just say it's raining out, your car's parked, you hit a little button on your phone, you hold down the button, and the car sort of backs out and goes around the parking lot and notices you on GPS, avoids things, and comes and picks you up. Now, I tested this on day one of the software coming out, and I'll tell you, it did not do a great job. If you were to tell me that it was a fully developed product, I would say that's terrible. If you would say that this is the first like real revision that got released to the public, I would say, wow, it's actually pretty good, and it's got the potential to be a really good feature of a vehicle. I mean, you could think about some instances. This is the return side, but they've promised two things. You could drop yourself at the door, hit go park myself, and your car goes to the furthest part of a parking lot and parks itself. You hit it again when you come back to the door, and it follows the same path and comes and picks you up at the front gate. So that is an extremely useful feature when they've got all the bugs worked out. They depend on making all of the current Tesla users be guinea pigs for this technology. The more hours, I think they said in the first day of release, we had 55,000 Smart Summon requests that were made. So tons of people testing it out. The consensus on social media was that the car struggled to be useful. So practically, no, it's not even something that I use. And since I tested out the first day, there were a couple instances that it would have been useful to do when the weather was poor and, just to test it out. And I opted not to do it because I know it's slow and it does tons of correcting and it comes in at weird angles and it's not as polished as it will be in its end form. And it would frustrate a lot of drivers that were in regular parking lots. It would be really tough to be able to put up with that just because of that. But again, it's innovation, and that's the part that I believe in. I'm not looking for perfection in innovation. So if you think that all we've ever, we've innovated everything we have to innovate, then sure, then we can just, take the polished stuff and eliminate everything from the marketplace. But the funnest thing about living in this country is how many thinkers and experimenters and triers and doers that we have out there, and they're free to take anything that exists, and our job is to get out of their way and let them try to improve on things. And again, again, a lot of us are quick to take strikes at things that are new and try to take chunks out of them. And I'm not. I like to sit back and just let the data come in. You try to take the haters, the people that are just, want you to hate them too, and I try to silence them out and just wait for the data to roll in. I mean, is this impressive? Is this unique? Is this innovative? And if that's the case, if they're trying things, I will support them to the end of the world. So somebody cornered Tesla on this full self-driving pricing. And so they priced it originally at, like $3,000 when you bought a car, and then it went to $5,000, and then it went to $6,000. And they're telling you about every month that this full self-driving thing is going to go up in price. And while people along the path that paid for it a long time ago really never got a product for their original $3,000 or $5,000 or $6,000, and they're starting to squirm. Well, you're kind of investors, private investors in this company that got the chance to privately finance a part of technology. So if you have to sort of become familiar and okay with knowing that you're paying for a product that somebody else knows or is telling you that isn't perfected yet. All right, 330-729-9977. We'll come back from this break. We'll take your calls. 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN.
Hi, this is Eric Clark with Fairway Ford in Canfield. We are on a record pace for F-150 sales, and we are going to keep that going. What that means is Fairway, your F-150 leader, gets more trucks from the factory because we sell more. We sell the most because of price, service, and a simple no-haggle sales process. See us at fairwayfordohio.com or 330-533-FORD. Fairway, that's the way we do business.
Geraldo Pagan was planning to attend a celebration of life at the New England Pentecostal Church to honor his longtime friend, a minister who was shot and killed last week. But the event was canceled at the last minute, and the church, located in Pelham, New Hampshire, is now the scene of an active police investigation.
We was just very shocked, just noticing that, hey, we say what happened.
Details are still slow in coming. The Hillsborough County Attorney will only confirm at this point that a suspect is in custody and that there are no fatalities. The New Hampshire State Police Major Crime Unit has been called to assist in the investigation. In the meantime, Donna McIver says she came to remember a man of peace and that she was heartbroken to hear of more violence.
It's just surreal. Lewis was shot, and now there's a shooting at his church.
Authorities are expected to provide more information. A briefing is expected to begin at any minute. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Our next update at 2. From the O'Charley's Digital Studios. $9.99 menu, 9 great meals, 1 great price. O'Charley's.
Need a furnace checkup? Call Mazza Heating and Cooling in Girard, your factory authorized Bryant dealer.
A cooler Saturday on the way. Highs only going to be reaching the upper 50s. Clouds and rain will decrease by the afternoon, leaving us with mostly sunny skies for your evening. Overnight, temperatures fall to the upper 30s with patchy frost possible. In the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm Alexis Walters.
A special 50-50 raffle at tonight's YSU game will have one lucky fan walking out of Stambaugh Stadium with a guaranteed minimum of $10,000, courtesy of Rick's Boot Factory Outlet. The winner must be present at the game, so make sure to get your YSU game ticket and your 50-50 raffle ticket for tonight's homecoming game against South Dakota State. One lucky fan will be walking out of Stambaugh Stadium with a guaranteed minimum of $10,000. Come and watch the parade at 4 o'clock and be there for kickoff at 6.
Are you ready for flu season? Visit the pharmacists at your neighborhood Giant Eagle Pharmacy for your flu shot today. It's your best defense against the aches, chills, fever, and the worst symptoms flu season has to offer. Plus, with your flu shot at Giant Eagle, you'll earn $5 in free groceries. So get ready to keep yourself and your family healthy this flu season and earn free groceries with a flu shot at Giant Eagle Pharmacy, your trusted pharmacy for over 30 years. Certain restrictions apply. See pharmacy for details.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent, like Prudential and Mutual of Omaha, and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-589-5599. That's 800-589-5599. 800-589-5599. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and this is your Saturday show. We get to talk about things that are happening in tech. Bunch of questions online about the Tesla. I hate to dominate the whole show about this thing, but I got it started. Might as well finish it off. So a couple more things. To finish off that statement about the comparison between electric vehicles and ICE vehicles, they started to say that if you take in consideration the components, my point was that you'd have to go and look at the things that you don't have with an electric vehicle that you do have with an ICE vehicle. So it's not just that you have fuel that puts carbon or carbon dioxide out of the tailpipes, where the Tesla doesn't have any of that. You produce the batteries, you have the different things that go into battery production, but you don't have oil, and you don't have an engine in the same sense that a car does, and you don't have a transmission in the same sense that a car does. You don't have the transmission fluid and radiator. And so if you take all of those things considered, whether it be from cost or the labor that went into it, or the actual manufacturing carbon output, it's probably really mostly the same. You're not going to get a huge advantage over the ICE vehicles. So the battery ones aren't going to be that much more because it's in its infancy. And I think there's some extra time down the road that when you start comparing those things, the electric vehicles will start getting a clear advantage as we get better. I mean, I talked about this last week. We depend on China to do a lot of dirty stuff for us. A lot of the rare earth materials that go into a lot of our technologies get mined over there, and our EPA would never allow it to be pulled out of the earth here because it's such a nasty, dirty, polluting process. So if it weren't for China being willing to deal with that pollution, and we wouldn't have half the stuff that we do. But that doesn't mean that these electronics can't have don't have a future, and we always have to pollute. We just have to innovate in a way that we're able to do the same things, but in a constant, let's pretend that China goes away and they're not a trading partner. We can't get into those elements. Then what? Then we're harvesting from meteorites, or we're finding ways of doing it here. And that's when the real innovation starts. As long as things are cheap and plentiful, right? We can't spend money to go combat something that's already super cheap. And that's the point, is that these companies are doing things like, Tesla and Amazon decided they're going to lose money for 10 years before they will ever end up clawing a dime back. And we got to be knowing that that's the business model of today. Innovators are going to lose money for a period of time until they don't anymore, right? And then they make back their investment after the thing is tried out and polished up and whatever. And we all get to be participants along the way. And I'm one of those ones. Like I said, my point before was just to be as supportive as I can to the innovators who are doing the hard thing. And last comment about Tesla, I promise. One of my favorite, on the way here, we had one of those little Scions that pulled up next to me and revved his engine. And this is one of my favorite parts about the Tesla because it's, it doesn't look like it's as ballsy as it is. And you got this immense amount of torque that comes from when you mash on that gas pedal, you go like almost like the roller coasters at Cedar Point. When they hit the button, you take off like a bullet out of a gun. So on the whole shot, you will always get it. So when these guys come up and rev me, and I'll do I'm not interested in a drag race, but it's just hilarious when you punch it and they punch it, the difference in how fast you can get ahead of them. On the way here, one of those little Scions did that to me, and I was just laughing, and that was my favorite part. Anyway, so sorry, Mr. Scion out there. I didn't mean to dust you with my little old Tesla. But I'm not mentioning Tesla anymore. Let's move on topics. Those of you who have been keeping an eye on Bitcoin and its values, every week somebody asks me about it, if I still pay attention to it, if I'm still involved in it, what I think it's going to do. And for the last 4 years, it's done exactly what we expected it to do. And the way that I explain it to people, and the reason that anybody who knows anything about finance stays about 1 million miles away is because this is the most binary technology that there is. It's either going to be worth exactly what I say it's going to be worth because it has to, or it's going to be worth nothing. And there's not going to be much difference in between. And the reason you can't hang your hat on that is because it has just as equal a chance of it being zero as it is to be exactly where it is. Now, it hasn't gone to zero, but it could. It could tomorrow. And it doesn't mean when it gets to $100,000 a coin, that means that it's any better. It's still, at any point, could go to zero because it requires participation. And it's got that radioactive feel about it where the smart money stays quite a distance away from it. The dabblers make a little bit of money, and the big guys, right? The smaller guys are more plentiful, but it's small amounts of money spread over thousands of millions of different people. So many scams are in there, so you got to be so super careful. There's no regulation. So if somebody takes advantage of you, it's not like you're going to call somebody and they're going to come to your aid and claw some money back for you. It doesn't work that way. It's on you to know about the technology enough to protect yourself. I've been stolen from. I know what I'm doing. I know how the technology works. I've been stolen from, and I dotted every I and I crossed every T, and I still got stuff happen to me that there was somebody smarter than me. So you really want to take your time and get and warm up to the technology if you want to entertain it. Right now, we're about a neutral. Okay, so it's about $8,300 per Bitcoin. When we first started talking about Bitcoin, I started buying these things when they were $25 a coin, and they've been as high as $20,000 a coin. And as long as the thing exists, it's going to follow a pretty predictable pattern up to its value. But again, that doesn't mean it's going to hold its value because it could go to zero tomorrow, and that's it. It's done. As long as if there's no one willing to buy your coins, you're going to have this digital coin that's no better than monopoly money. So that's why you got to be super aware. I mean, and the couple years that we did mining, we did arbitrage between marketplaces, and we also just bought coins straight out. And we went through all of the different processes. It is a very intensive marketplace where you have to really know what you're doing. The onus is on you to be smarter than everybody else out there. And I will tell you, there is a ton of people that are smarter than you out there. So if you're going to do Bitcoin, be really safe. But pricing wise, I have this spreadsheet 4 years ago that plotted where Bitcoin would have to be in order to stay relevant. And it has stayed course. It's had some pops, it's had some bubbles above, and it's gone below, but it's stayed on a trajectory exactly what my spreadsheet said it would be 4 years ago when the first entry was $16 on my spreadsheet. And right now it's supposed to be around 7,500, and then the next one's 1,500, and this is like exponential growth. So you can just see, if you plot my two figures there, you could see that as it halves, as the value halves, it has to also double. So halving to doubling to doubling to doubling. You can see every halving, you got to have a price at least double what it was before in order to keep the participation for the people who are mining this stuff in the game. Otherwise, you lose them. If you lose them, you lose the whole system. So again, not smart money being in Bitcoin, but it's still, again, an infant technology that I don't, honestly, I thought that the practicality of Bitcoin would reveal itself by now. Because it's proven out that it's, I thought there would be more consumer products based in either blockchain or Bitcoin up to this point, and there just really hasn't been. It's just it's a mode of money. How I explained it to this guy this week is that there are countries in the world that do not trust their own government, so they use Bitcoin as a protective mechanism against the economies in their own home countries. So where we can't find a lot of utility in Bitcoin, countries that don't trust their own currency, like their currency could be devalued and spread on the street and be worth nothing tomorrow, and their government would just create another one, and everybody would lose their value and no one would care. But if they put it in Bitcoin, because you can do it, on the sly, and you can get your Bitcoin and safeguard it against that. So you have countries that are on those bottom rungs supporting the values, and then we in the United States get to see and say, hey, we're buying and selling, but we're not like using. Where's the utility here? And so, like I said, it's in the broader world, it's filling the void of a central bank that has sort of individual consumer protections built in only because it's deregulated and decentralized, where nobody can come in and destroy your value through government intervention or regulatory intervention. So there's the 401 on Bitcoin. Again, it's right about at value. So if you buy it today, it's not really at a bargain. It's just where it's supposed to be. If you're playing the long game, you know that if you buy in right now, you bought at value. And if it does what the spreadsheet says that it should do, then it doubles up or it doesn't. Either way, it's like I said, it's Bitcoin. It can do anything it wants. All right, 330-729-9977. Last week I was telling you guys about an event we were planning up at Cafe 422, and we did it last night, and it was awesome. It was amazing, and we're going to do more of this kind of stuff. My belly's on fire on these kind of things. Nick, if you've met him, he does commercial services. He is really good with the entertainment side, the music side. He's a professional DJ. He really takes this serious. His production is amazing. So he and I partnered on putting on some events, befriending some local restaurants, and then moving around and bringing entertainment venues to different restaurants. And so we picked Cafe 422 had no good reason to extend the invitation to host our pilot, our version 1.0 at their place, and they did graciously. They were so good to us, and we want to thank them. It worked out for them because it's a chance. No matter what, it's a chance. These restaurants have to staff it, have to serve it. No matter if one person shows up or 100, they have to be ready for it, and that's a really tough game to play. So we're really thankful that they were willing to lend their space to us so we could pull off one of these, and it went amazing. We had 2 comics come in. One was America's Got Talent. She's going to be on the next. She's going to be on the next season, and so we wanted to check her comedy out. And then we had the guy that was on our program last week, Quinn Patterson. He went on as well. It was a great time. In fact, I loved it so much. I can't wait to do the next one. And so we're always open for not only places that will host us like Cafe 422. We're going to do another one with them, no doubt. We're not going to do it every month there, but we're going to definitely do more than one at Cafe 422 because their venue is perfect for it. But we're also looking for acts, things that are good entertainment that we can bring to these. So some sort of my ideas where we did the comics. Magicians would go well. Acoustic music, people love during dinner settings listening to some cover music with an acoustic guitar and a guy behind a mic that has talent. I'd love to get some of those. We started working with the Millennial Theater Company to potentially write a script for a production, an hour production, so that after dinner you have some theater that we can do in that kind of a setting. So I started that conversation with them. That would be a cool one. A murder mystery dinner. That's like at the top of this. I want to write my own. If you've ever been to these, you eat dinner, and during the dinner they play out these skits where they reveal clues to you, and then you solve the murder at the end. And so maybe every 15 minutes they'll put on an act of this skit, and by the end, your table, which is a team, tries to solve who did it. And it's a really fun way to spend an evening. You get good dinner, and you also have a game to play. So that's on the agenda as well. But I'm kind of open to it. I really want to take, our deal is we like to demonstrate what we do. It's not just we're practitioners. We get to solve problems and engineer deal, but that's not really where our passion lies. We like to take cool things in technology and entertainment, and we like to put them on display because, we're consumers just like anybody else, and we know what we like. And there, I don't think, there's enough things for people to do in this way, right? So, we used to do date night, but we used to kind of make it up on our own. My wife and I, we used to just go to different places, and if they had live music, it made for a better thing. And I thought, why don't more people do it? And it takes organization. It takes someone to take the investment, make the move, take the risk, and put it all together. And it has to have a payoff in the end. Well, we have this luxury because this station and the people who listen to this program are super loyal to the things that we do. You guys support us no matter what. There were people that showed up at that last night's date dinner, and I know they were there just in support of what we do. I appreciate that because that warms my heart when people take a chance on you and show up just to be in support. And then what I like, the best thing was that we hit a home run with that, with the comics that we had there. And so that everybody who showed up is just maybe low expectations, but they're just support. They came away with a true venue that we enjoyed ourselves. I mean, it was hysterical. The comedians were great. And again, we had good dinner on top of it, but we nailed it. So that kind of lets us do another one. I mean, it could have gone totally the opposite where, hey, date night is good in theory, but we put it out there and nobody was really interested. We had a successful one in spite of being on a Friday with Friday Night Football and a bunch of other venues going on. And we did that specifically because, that restaurant, I'm sure, had the same deal where it's a Friday night and they were competing with all kind of other venues. You bring that curveball in and it gives you a little bit an upper hand. And that's what means something to me when somebody's willing to put themselves on the line, do something a little bit different and take a little bit of risk. We want to support those risk takers. We don't want to be so quick to judge and to criticize. I think we've been famous for that is we cannibalize our own through the wicked tongues that we have sometimes. And, I'm willing to give some people some grace and allow them to try and be supportive, even if it isn't perfect, so while they own up to it and really try to provide great products for us as the consumers. And that's the boat that we're in right now. We're just dreaming big and trying to put together some great venues for us. And we will appreciate it. And we hope that you will continue to support us and continue to joining our events. We're planning up now the one in November. We're trying to avoid the holidays and pick out a venue. So stay tuned. We'll make sure that when we come up with something, we'll mention it through our social media. And that's probably the best way to connect with us. We're first to put things on social media because it's the easiest way just to get to information. We'll do traditional things. We want to make sure we support all of our television stations and our radio stations with the ad revenue because they get the word out. We're still, that is our way of information distribution in this area. And a lot of void to be filled with the disappearance of the Vindicator too. So we want to make sure that we help those traditional guys stay in business and make a buck too. All right, we're going to take a break. 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Hey there, Dan Rivers. We have a show every morning at 8:07. We're on till noon. We hope you can join us. But if you do happen to miss it, remember, you can hear the program on the podcast. Just search Dan Rivers, 570 WKBN.
Attention outdoor enthusiasts. Gander Outdoors is having a massive inventory reduction and every item must be sold now. Save up to 70% off the entire store. Everything must go. Hunting, fishing, camping, apparel, and more. It's all up to 70% off. Gander Outdoors' massive inventory reduction won't last long, and when these savings are gone, they're gone. Save up to 70% off everything at Gander Outdoors off Niles, Cortland Road in Warren today.
Exclusions apply. See store for details. Offers expire 10/20/19.
As president, I promise to end needless suffering caused by dented plastic chair mats, and I promise to deliver beautiful glass office chair mats to homes and businesses with free shipping. And finally, as president, I promise a special discount for radio listeners throughout these fruited plains.
Hi, this is George Pardo, president of Vitraza, America's #1 supplier of glass office chair mats. Let me just say this, I promise, a Vitraza glass chair mat will completely transform your office. It will never dent, and our specially coated glass is beautiful. Visit us online at vitraza.com. That's V as in Victor, ITRAZZA.com. Radio listeners save 10% on any glass chair mat with promo code PRESIDENT. Here's our website again, VITRAZZA.com. Use promo code PRESIDENT to get 10% off. Vitraza.com.
It's Heidi Summers, health and wellness expert with your local health update. I get so many emails and calls about CBD, the incredible oil from the hemp plant that's being used to provide relief to millions for joint discomfort, inflammation, and nagging injuries. It's the most talked about alternative health breakthrough in years. The CBD product I always recommend comes from CBD Labs, the gold standard of CBD. CBD Labs oil goes to work fast to relieve your discomfort and deliver the results one thought nearly impossible without a prescription. This powerful oil is not marijuana and contains no THC, the ingredient that gets you high. Oh yeah, CBD Labs oil has also been used to help thousands get a great night's sleep. Don't be fooled by all the imitators. Call now and find out how to get a free bottle while supplies last.
To get your free bottle of CBD Labs CBD oil, call 800-679-8018. That's 800-679-8018. Free bottles for a limited time, so call now. 800-679-8018. 800-679-8018.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-276-1640. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-276-1640. That's 800-276-1640 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-276-1640. 800-276-1640.
I'm Aaron Mankey. In this season of Unobscured, we'll trace the path of the spiritualists who followed the voice of Andrew Jackson Davis. Over the course of the 19th century, spiritualism became a kaleidoscope of novel beliefs, courageous people, and world-shaking events. iHeartRadio is #1 for podcasts, and it's easy to see why. Find the newest season of Unobscured on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show, and I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer. This is your Saturday show where you talk about things that are happening in technology. Open up the phone lines to you all program long, so feel free. If you don't want to talk on the lines, you can always passively send me a text message, 330-333-1570. Text that number, 330-333-1570, and I will read those as we go along the program today on the air, comment on them. They could be comment, they could be questions. Anyway, it's just a nice and easy, non-aggressive way to get your thoughts known during the program today. So always appreciate those. Again, 330-729-9977. Next hour, I'm going to talk about speed cameras a little bit. There was a couple articles coming down, stuff with the state of Ohio. So those of you who are interested. Now, the good thing is in the car that I drive, it doesn't allow me to speed. So I've been completely immune from speeding tickets because I just put my car on autopilot and it stays 5 miles over the speed limit. And if the posted speed limit changes, it corrects and adjusts it downward. So it just kind of does its own thing. And I know there's a lot of other brands that do that as well, where cruise control, the adaptive cruise controls have gotten really sophisticated, where they can adjust based on traffic flows and they can see things around them. These sensors are getting pretty sophisticated in how it interprets, the world, around us, and it can make decisions. And if all of you know, we talk about artificial intelligence fairly regularly on this. And when most of you have exposure to it, you always look at AI as sort of like the robotic approach where it interfaces with humans and whatnot. But there is so much math going on right now that is AI. It's the really early versions of what AI will become on the decision making. So, your Facebook feed is making decisions where you have, 1,000 friends. Each one of them is posting once a day, which means you would have to go through 1,000 posts. But you don't see all 1,000 posts from all of your friends. You see the ones that you entangle with the most, and they align with your beliefs and your interests. And you only see the ones that Facebook or the algorithm or the artificial intelligence decide you'd be interested in. So your whole command of what's going on around you is based on how you participate in the social media round. So these sensors and what the information you give away and how you behave determine what gets distributed to you in your digital life. So all of these things, very interesting, and you'll see how they kind of connect as we have this conversation about speed cameras in the next segment here. 330-729-9977, or you can text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Hospitals and major healthcare providers want you to believe one thing. They want you to believe you do not have a choice when it comes to medical imaging. Hospitals can hit you with thousands of dollars in medical bills. Don't listen. Go where so many have gone and have saved thousands of dollars on their medical imaging. DMXI. You don't have to pay those ridiculous hospital fees. DMXI is here to help you. It's your decision where you have your imaging taken. Trust DMXI. Go to DMXI.com or stop in at their local location just off Todd Avenue in Boardman.
Why do I get my flu shot at Giant Eagle Pharmacy every year? Because up to 1 in 5 people will suffer with the flu this season. And staying healthy is very important. Because I'm not just a wife or a mom, I'm also a Giant Eagle pharmacist that cares for you and our community.
Count on your neighborhood Giant Eagle pharmacist for your flu shot this season and earn $5 in free groceries. Giant Eagle Pharmacy, your trusted pharmacy for over 30 years. Certain restrictions apply. See pharmacy for details.
On AM and thousands of devices, including Amazon Echo, Google Home, and Sonos. With our iHeartRadio app, 570 WKBN, Youngstown. It's 2 o'clock.
From ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. A deadly construction accident in New Orleans. One worker has died. At least 18 others are injured when the Hard Rock Cafe Hotel partially collapsed this morning. The city's EMS says a crane slammed into the building, that the building is still unstable, and there could be a secondary collapse. 3 additional workers are unaccounted for. A Pentecostal church in Pelham, New Hampshire was supposed to host a celebration of life today for a minister who was shot and killed last week. Instead, it's a crime scene.
It's just surreal. Lewis was shot, and now there's a shooting at his church.
That is a woman who was there to remember a longtime friend. Authorities say a suspect is in custody and that there are no fatalities. Lowell General Hospital, meanwhile, is confirming that it's received at least 1 patient. President Trump tweeting today that Rudy Giuliani is, quote, a legendary crime buster and the greatest mayor in the history of New York. Well, now the White House says the president's personal attorney has been sidelined after 2 of his former associates were arrested on campaign finance violations.
Sources telling ABC News the business relationship between Giuliani and the men charged in that campaign finance scheme is a subject of the ongoing criminal investigation. Now, I've been talking with Rudy Giuliani this morning, and he tells me he has no knowledge that he is under investigation. Giuliani also telling me no one from the Justice Department has contacted him about his associates who were arrested.
That's ABC's Kira Phillips. Authorities across Los Angeles continue to battle a series of wildfires. They've prompted mass evacuations, and the fires are also blamed for at least 2 deaths. PG&E, meanwhile, plans to restore power to 98% of customers taken offline in Northern California because of fire danger. You're listening to ABC News.
Here's what's happening. A Youngstown man was sentenced to 10 years in prison for causing a crash that killed a 53-year-old woman, according to the Summit County Prosecutor's Office. Akron police attempted to pull over a driver that ran a red light back in December of 2018. Police pursued the vehicle, determined to be stolen from Austintown. 20-year-old Timmy Goforth of Youngstown crashed into another vehicle driven by 53-year-old Stacy McGinnis. McGinnis died as a result of the crash. Youngstown police are investigating after 2 people were shot on the south side last night. It happened about 10:30 p.m. in the area of Market Street near East Lucius Avenue. A cause and investigation is underway as to how two semis caught fire in a garage. It happened at DNV Trucking on Route 46, not far from Route 11. The fire happened just before 6 p.m. yesterday. It also caught part of the garage on fire. Nobody was hurt. A North Beaver Township man accused of attacking EMT personnel has been transferred to the Columbiana County Jail. 24-year-old William Swagger attacked EMT personnel a little over a week ago and ran away in the Elkton area. He was caught in Shenango Township. A Farrell man has been sentenced last week to 10 to 20 years in state prison after he was found guilty of raping a 12-year-old. 62-year-old Clifford Allen Locke Sr. was convicted in a jury trial before Mercer County Common Pleas Court. And if you're looking for something to do this weekend, Mill Creek Metro Parks will hold its annual Pumpkin Walk at twilight. It happens 5:30 to 8 p.m. tomorrow at Fellows Riverside Gardens. Pumpkin line paths will take visitors through fall scenes and colors, and there'll be various entertainment and children's activities as well. Also, Boardman Park is offering spooky wagon rides and pumpkin carving. Family-friendly haunted wagon rides and other events throughout the park happen this weekend. The rides start about 7 p.m. From the Power Chevrolet Buick GMC of Calcutta, Ohio newsroom, I'm Dave Price.
For your home or business, call Mazza's Heating and AC in Girard, 330-545-6063. Your factory authorized Bryant dealer. Now, the Storm Team 27 forecast.
A cooler Saturday on the way. Highs only going to be reaching the upper 50s. Clouds and rain will decrease by the afternoon, leaving us with mostly sunny skies for your evening. Overnight, temperatures fall to the upper 30s with patchy frost possible. In the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm Alexis Walters.
Hey, join me, Ron Furbus. I broadcast live Wednesday from Bruno Brothers Pizza in the Star Center Plaza, corner of Lockwood 224 in Canfield, next to the Poorhouse. I'll have Ron Verb specials like 57-cent slices of pizza and half-off gift cards at Bruno Brothers Canfield location.
A special 50-50 raffle at tonight's YSU game will have one lucky fan walking out of Stambaugh Stadium with a guaranteed minimum of $10,000, courtesy of Rick's Boot Factory Outlet. The winner must be present at the game, so make sure to get your YSU game ticket and your 50-50 raffle ticket for tonight's homecoming game against South Dakota State. One lucky fan will be walking out of Stambaugh Stadium with a guaranteed minimum of $10,000. Come and watch the parade at 4 o'clock and be there for kickoff at 6.
You want that new or used vehicle, but your credit score isn't exactly what you need? You work hard, you've always paid your bills. Who can you turn to? Hi, this is Tino Merlo from Toyota of Warren. Stop in and see me or my staff. Toyota of Warren's here to help, and we can get you financed.
Stiefel is a full-service firm offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. Stiefel, with 3 offices in the Valley, with experienced advisors assisting you. Information, visit stiefel.com or call 744-4351. Stiefel Nicholas Incorporated.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and this is your Saturday show where you get to talk about things that are in tech. A question that came in, how does Bitcoin actually work? So we started talking about Bitcoin in the last segment, and somebody wants to know how it actually functions, and there's a lot to it. So I will give you sort of like the 5-cent tour of how it functions, because when you think of these abstract things like digital currency, your relationship with it could be transactional, where it's just you bought it and you sold it and it was just a thing. You don't really understand where the thing came from or what makes it a thing. So I'm gonna sort of go down that rabbit hole a little bit. So let's just separate you from the buyer and the seller. The first thing you need as a participant in the Bitcoin network is a wallet. Okay, so you download this wallet, and it's basically an application that interfaces with the Bitcoin network. And what it interfaces with, what makes it a wallet, is you download the entirety of every transaction that's ever happened in the Bitcoin world. So when you download this wallet, it is a gargantuan, like 6 gigabyte application. And in that, every transaction that's ever taken place for Bitcoin downloads with that wallet. Now, you are an active participant, right? Because you have a copy of every transaction that's ever happened in the Bitcoin world. When it's decentralized, which means that there's not a centralized servers in someone's business or in a government office somewhere, you are a participant. You have a copy and your neighbor has a copy and somebody else has a copy. Agreement between copies is what keeps it decentralized, where if I could go in there and edit my transaction log and put a transaction where I have 100 Bitcoin, it's not going to match everybody else's transaction log, and mine will be rejected because it has to have confirmations where it takes other people that's part of it and compares the transaction history with theirs. And if it doesn't, it's not accepted into the transaction log. That's what makes it it makes it so secure, because it's not any one individual person. Now, what kills this is if you have someone who dominates the network and it has ownership of more than 50% of the network, because that person can actually forge transactions. And so remember that situation where Bitcoin equals zero? Well, that's the Bitcoin equals zero. If one person harbors too much transactional power, they can actually thwart the system. As long as it's decentralized and you have enough individuals that are participating that are different from one another that can hold those transactions accountable, then you have a system that is 100% accurate. There's no way to trick the system because it's not consolidated at the top by too many power players. So that's the first part, is you have this, that's what they consider blockchain, is that you have every transaction downloaded on your computer that then compares with other people's transactions and make sure that they all agree. The second thing is that miners are extremely necessary in the process. And mining is where somebody takes some computer equipment and allows the network to use the processing ability of equipment that I have in front of me. And so I allow it by putting settings in there, and then transactions roll through my hardware, and it's able to, and you can pool. You can actually team up with other people in a pool, and then all of you are simultaneously working on these transactions. And these transactions are basically just taking really sophisticated encrypted files and decrypting them, right? And then when they're decrypted, it's very logical. Like if you had, this is the way I tell people, many more digits, but if you had a 3-digit number, 0 to 9, like a combination log, 0 to 9, 0 to 9, 0, how many different combinations before you would get it? Well, if the answer is 326, the answer would be that you're going to solve it on the 326th try, because you're going to go 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 2. So through the processing, it tries different combinations until it finally gets to the point where it was the right transaction, and then that block is unlocked. Okay, so what they can do is they can make the formulas hard enough that it takes about 10 minutes for that problem to be solved. And then if you solve that problem, you're awarded so many Bitcoins. And when we stopped mining, it was like 5 Bitcoins. And then every couple years it halves, where then it's 2.5, and then it's 1.5, and then it keeps getting to be decimal points and decimal points. There will only be 21 million Bitcoins ever released into that system. And it keeps halving until there's fractional Bitcoins, way down in the future. But the value of those Bitcoins that they release has to be enough for people to pay their electric bills. There are farms of these Bitcoin mining machines that require immense amount of electricity, and the output is that you have to be able to pay for the electricity in order to be able to harvest a Bitcoin. So what happens if the value isn't there? Well, obviously people turn off their machines. What happens when people turn off their machines? The formula gets less hard to solve, and then more people are able to solve it. More rewards are be able to have. So if people drop out of the Bitcoin, the value goes up and it attracts more people into it. If it gets too many people in it, the value goes down and people are drop out of it because there isn't any money to be made. And so that, in a nutshell, is how the value is determined. It's the participation of the people who are processing the transactions, because that's really where the value comes from. It has to be worth. Now, the rest of us that are actually using the Bitcoin system, we buy something, and then our transaction goes into these logs, and these miners actually process it. Within 10 minutes, you have this result of the transaction either being satisfied, being an authentic one, and then it propagates out to everybody's transaction log, and it's entered into the record, and then the value is transferred from you to me. And that's essentially how it is. Now, as a practical utility to the rest of the network, it takes 10 minutes to be able to say that whether or not you're an authentic transaction. That's by design. It takes 10 minutes to solve the formula. If it was any quicker, the difficulty would slow down. It would become easier. And if it was any longer, the difficulty would go down and it would get harder. So or vice versa. And so it will always take 10 minutes. So if you're at a store and you take your Bitcoin credit card and you want to buy a pair of pants and you slide it over there and you enter the transaction, it won't be able to enter the transaction legitimately into the full blockchain, the full transaction log until 10 minutes. So you're going to stand at the register for 10 minutes. So then there's these other companies that have sort of been what stands between the 10-minute network and the instant network. So you deal with them, and then they'll sort of like fast track your transaction and know that it's just going to make its way in there. And then they are, so you don't like disassemble the secure part of it. You make a little less secure those buffer people that enter things in a transaction and pay you too quickly, assuming it's going to go through. And then it just gets regulated, or it gets added into that main transaction. So again, it gets really deep, really complicated, but that's its nutshell deal. So if you're thinking like, well, how does this thing have value? It has value because so many of them are being rewarded to the people who are processing transaction. We say, well, where's that money coming from? Well, when you do a transaction, which thousands and thousands and thousands of those transactions a second happen, you pay a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a Bitcoin per transaction. Those get lumped together, and that's what's awarded to the people who are processing those transactions. So the amount of Bitcoin that are going to be rewarded are a finite 21 million. And as of right now, there's been 17.3 million Bitcoins circulated, and there'll only be 21. So there's only like less than 4 million that will ever be put into the system again. And again, like I said, they keep halving. So there's going to be, where there might be 5, there's going to be 2.5, and there's going to be 1.5, and it's going to keep halving until there's fractions upon fractions. So we're looking at like 25 years before the last Bitcoin will be put into the system. And I don't necessarily, I think you're going to get so fractional. I don't think you're ever going to have all of them in circulation. I mean, I could check the spreadsheet, but I think as long as you keep having them, you can continue having them as you have decimal points. So I have a feeling that we're going to be 72 decimal points deep before, people won't even be able to fathom a person ever holding a full Bitcoin, because it would be, billions of dollars. And that's why the spreadsheet says that these things are either going to be $24 billion or nothing in the end. So is it worth going out and buying a tenth of a Bitcoin right now and just hanging on to it? Sure, you'll pay $800 for that tenth of a Bitcoin, and you can sit on it. And if it ever becomes $1 million of Bitcoin, then you'll be pretty happy that you did. And so that's what I tell people. If you want to dabble in it, that might be a worthwhile small, because we're talking about such a big value at the end of this. If you just buy a little bit and pretend like you don't have it and see what happens in 20 years, you might come there and say, oh, it's worth 0, and you got to be okay with that. Or you open up and say, oh, that little $800 is now worth $80,000. That could be a pretty good discovery on that day. But there has been people that have purchased Bitcoin and lost their Bitcoin because they forgot about it, how to unlock it, because it's super secure. If you lose the access to it, there's anybody that's going to be able to help you get it back because it's secure. You're not going to be able to say, hey, that's mine, somebody relinquish it. No, when it dies with you. So even the amount of Bitcoins that are usable in the system, of those 21 million, what if there's only 1 million left that are accessible? What if the rest of them have been dead and buried and lost on a hard drive and computer crashed and whatever? You can see how this thing, if it's usable, being it's finite, it's deflationary, and it also has a loss rate of probably immense. I mean, I've lost more that nobody will get access to early on. I mean, there was a guy that did 10,000 Bitcoins for a pizza, most expensive pizza in the world. Right. So again, that's sorry I went so long on the Bitcoin side. Next thing are these speed cameras, and I rail against these to no end. And I have police friends who I have to keep reassuring them this has nothing to do with cops and what they do for society. This has everything to do with a shortfall in cash in a municipality, and they use a technology heavy-handed, and then they waste goodwill that they had. I mean, we spent decades trying to get police and the public to cooperate, right? We're not your enemy. We're going to shoot hoops with you. We're going to play catch with your kids. Trust us. Talk to us. And all of this goodwill, like, cops need the support of communities. It's really important part of law enforcement. And you had these speed cameras where a company comes into town and says, hey, we're going to make all of your financial problems disappear. You hide on a bridge and you shoot people's license plate. They won't even know you hit them. And then a month later, they get a ticket in the mail. Can't even remember what they were doing on that day. There's no way you can contest it, but they're going to pay these suckers. We're not going to make it any part of their license. And then you guys raise a bunch of money because we have the fear of the government to be able to extract that money. So that's the position of the consumer. None of that. You get one of those tickets, and how much do you have love for the police behind? You can't distinguish between the guy that's on the bridge extracting money from the public in the most shady way possible, hiding, right, and making it show up 5 days or 5 weeks later. That's shady, and so the state of Ohio, I love this, said that the money that's raised with these speed cameras are going to be subtracted from the award money that comes down from the state. So if you raise $200,000 through the speed camera program, then the state money will be minus $200,000. And the state's like, yep, you're raising your own. That's off of us. But if you follow that, it feels a whole lot just like a tax, right? If the municipalities and police need more money, right, then they go to the citizens and they put it on the ballot and they say we need more money. But they're not interested in raising the money from their citizens. They want to hit the unsuspecting passer through, and they want to nail him and take his tax money or take his money and pay it instead of the cities. And that's what's so kind of it's terrible in a lot of ways, but that's my most unfavorite way, that they're not making any friends by doing this. But I love the state of Ohio put that. It's a second thing that I would add to this. What I really wish they would do is set a timer. And if you issue one of these photos, that you have to get in contact with the person that you're going to fine within a given amount of time and let them know that it just happened. I've met people who had 3 and 4 of these because they didn't get the notice that would have slowed them down in time. Like, when you see a cop, you do a brake check, and then you might have been speeding, but that was enough to make you slow down and think about it. Where if you don't even get the notice, you might be in that same state of mind and there was nothing there to tell you that you need to slow yourself down. And that's what the safety part of this is. If the cops are going to enforce things, they might as well do it for safety's sake and use whatever gets people to slow down. So the speed cameras get people to slow down 30 days from now when they realize that they got a ticket, not like right now when they might be stressed out and they need somebody to give them a little slap on the face to slow their roll down. So I wish the state of Ohio would put the second, a rule or something to put somebody on the clock and make it faster that you be notified. If they're going to do this, you might as well, I want notified within 24 hours of having made that deal. You know that they would put us on the clock in that same way. And so it's only fair that they're put on the clock that way. If they're going to play these shady games, that at least get us notified within a period of time that to allow us to do corrective action at the very least. So that's my take on it. I'm good for the state of Ohio. I hope honestly that most of them bail on it first off and go back to doing police work where you hit somebody and you pull them over and you can check to see if they're not harboring kids kids in the back seat and doing dangerous stuff and being high on something or driving around just making things unsafe. Because I think pulling people over does a lot more for the preventative from a safety standpoint, from a citizen's standpoint. I want police work to be done, not these sit on a bridge and tag people and just for money's sake. So I know a lot of you are on my side on this, and we rail about it pretty heavily. And it's not about me getting tickets. I disagree with this, and I don't even speed. And sure, I've gotten tickets in the past, but this isn't about sour grapes about me getting tickets. Even if I got one, I wouldn't pay it. I don't believe in it. All right, 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. We're going to take a break, come back, take those calls. This is the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
There's a lot of electricity in the air.
In Iran, the border, China,
Venezuela,
2020, abortion, Roe v. Wade. Know what's about to happen.
Inform the American people.
570 WKBN.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. And right now, get your first online visit totally free when you go to forhims.com/joy. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/joy. forhims.com/joy.
Belleria Pizza and Italian Restaurant in Struthers invites you to sample its wide variety of menu items, including pizza, pasta, wings, salads, and appetizers. Be sure to ask about daily and nighttime specials. Open 7 days a week at 1010 Youngstown, Poland Road. Call 330-755-4667. Belleria Pizza and Italian Restaurant in Struthers wishes best of luck to all Youngstown State University teams.
We seldom taste one bite at a time. At Belleria.
It's Heidi Summers, health and wellness expert with your local health update. I get so many emails and calls about CBD, the incredible oil from the hemp plant that's being used to provide relief to millions for joint discomfort, inflammation, and nagging injuries. It's the most talked about alternative health breakthrough in years. The CBD product I always recommend comes from CBD Labs, the gold standard of CBD. CBD Labs oil goes to work fast to relieve your discomfort and deliver the results one thought nearly impossible without a prescription. This powerful oil is not marijuana and contains no THC, the ingredient that gets you high. Oh yeah, CBD Labs oil has also been used to help thousands get a great night's sleep. Don't be fooled by all the imitators. Call now and find out how to get a free bottle while supplies last.
To get your free bottle of CBD Labs CBD oil, call 800-679-8018. That's 800-679-8018. Free bottles for a limited time, so call now. 800-679-8018. 800-679-8018.
Paid for by Dickey for Judge.
We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice.
The United States Constitution. We teach our kids that despite all of our differences, it brings us together and sets a firm foundation of laws that keep us safe. It's also the Constitution that judges take an oath to defend.
That's just what Caitlin Dickey will do. Caitlin Dickey is a prosecutor and a former court magistrate. Caitlin Dickey knows the importance of being fair and impartial in the courtroom. Caitlin Dickey also knows that those found guilty must be held accountable. That's why Caitlin Dickey will give criminals the sentences they deserve.
Caitlin Dickey, defending our Constitution.
Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
For fair and impartial justice, vote Caitlin Dickey for judge.
Hi, once again, it's Dan Rivers for the only window company I recommend, Window Nation. Temperatures are changing. Fall is arriving. That means cold weather, preparation for the holidays, winterizing your home. Start with the project that will give you the most bang for your buck. New windows. Window Nation will protect your home from the coming nasty winter weather while reducing the energy bills. Friends, it's a no-brainer. Call Window Nation today and get 2 free windows for every 2 you buy. Buy 4 for every 4 you buy. There's no limit. Plus, for the next 2 weeks, no interest for 5 years. New windows today and no interest for 60 months. It's Window Nation's best deal of the year. Bottom line, call the window company that's been 80,000 homeowners have already trusted. Don't wait until the holidays arrive and the cold weather is here. There's still time to get your windows installed right now. 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION. 2 free windows for every 2 you buy and 0% interest for 5 years. Visit windownation.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I'm Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer. This is your Saturday show. Let's go right to the calls here. First up, we got John. John, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hi, this is John from Boardman. My question is a statement, actually. About a year ago, I received a traffic cam ticket on 680, and my question is there a way that they can falsify these? Because, I know exactly what speed limit I was doing. I saw the officer. As I went under the bridge, I did do the brake check and spiked the brakes. I came out from underneath the bridge doing 51 mile an hour, and he had a photo of my rear plate. And at the bottom of the photo, it stated that it was 73 mile an hour, which is totally fraudulent. Now, recently, actually today, I received in the mail a second notice for a traffic ticket that I supposedly received in July. And it's a second notice with the fine on it and the late charge. Now, here's the question: what would happen if I chose not to pay this ticket? Since I was not confronted by my accuser, for my constitutional rights, I should be, at least allowed to face my accuser. That accuser, I believe, would be the police officer pulling me over. Am I wrong in thinking this?
Well, this is sort of the risk in not paying these things, and we talked to the attorneys the other day in here, and they say pay it because it could turn into something that you're not going to like down the road. So basically, what happens is the municipality can't collect on something, you don't pay it, so they give it to a collection agency. So when it was with the municipality, it was actually a speeding ticket. But when it goes to collection, it's no longer a speeding ticket. It's just a that debt. And then as that gets bought and sold between collection agencies, by the time, they're coming after you, you're not contesting it as what it was originally, which was a speeding ticket. It's just an owed money to a government agency, and it's probably, something that could outlive you kind of a thing. I have one of those out there, and they call every once in a while. So back when these first things started happening, I got hit by one of the Howland ones. And I was just fed up with it, and I said, I'm not paying it. So they wrote me and said, hey, you're not going to pay it. We're going to send you a collection agency. I wrote back to them to say I'm not paying it, forever. And they did. They sent me out to a collection agency. So the collection agency calls and says, hey, we want to we were trying to collect on this debt. And I say, I will die 1,000 times before I ever pay this. So you could take me off of the list because this is going to live in collection hell forever. I'm never paying this. And they haven't called again. But I know that that thing at one point might grow into a little bit of a monster. So I got to keep my eye on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. Should I keep my eye on it? Because, obviously they're threatening you with collection and they're threatening you with damaging your credit.
Right.
And, how could they possibly damage your credit with something that, you weren't aware of, number one. And as you stated earlier, they didn't confront me with this violation in any due time. And here the thing is, I collect my mail every day. And this never showed up in the mail until yesterday that says that, it's from July 30th. And what was I doing on July 30th?
Exactly.
Did I lend somebody a vehicle? I have no way of fighting that, and I have no way of looking back that far and proving that I have a record of either not driving the car myself or what have you. But yet they want to hold this against you, and tie you to this. It's not legal, but it's a legal bill, but it's like you said, it's a civil bill. Where do they have a leg to stand on? All they have is a photo, which shows my license plate and the mile per hour underneath it. Which the previous one that I got, and the only one I ever got before, I knew was fraudulent.
Okay, John, hang on one second. Let me go to this break. I'm gonna put you on hold. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be back.
We're here with Scott Jones from Youngstown Propane Fireplace and Patio. Scotty, fireplace season has arrived.
Yes, it has, and nobody has a bigger selection of custom-made vented and unvented fireplaces than we do, and nobody installs them better than us. We also have a great selection of outdoor fire pits and the best spas made today, Dimension 1 Spas. Right now, you can enjoy sale prices on everything in the store. And if you heat your house with propane, call us for the best prices and service in town. Since 1981, we're Youngstown Propane Fireplace and Patio on Route 224 in Canfield.
Here's some of the stories we have today. A Youngstown man was sentenced to 10 years in prison for causing a crash that killed a 53-year-old woman, according to the Summit County Prosecutor's Office. Youngstown police are investigating after 2 people were shot on the south side last night. A cause and investigation is underway as to how 2 semi-trucks caught fire in a garage. It happened at DNV Trucking on Route 46. A North Beaver Township man accused of attacking EMT personnel and running away in the Elkton area has been transferred to the Columbiana County Jail. A Farrell man has been sentenced to 10 to 20 years in state prison after being found guilty of raping a 12-year-old. And Mill Creek Metro Parks holds its annual Pumpkin Walk Sunday, 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. And Boardman Park this weekend is offering spooky wagon rides and pumpkin carving. From the Power Chevrolet Buick GMC of Calcutta, Ohio newsroom, I'm Dave Price.
Our next update at 3 from the O'Charley's Digital Studios. $9.99 menu, 9 great meals, 1 great price. O'Charley's.
Don't be left out in the cold this winter. Call Mazza Heating in Girard, your factory authorized Bryant dealer.
A cooler Saturday on the way. Highs only going to be reaching the upper 50s. Clouds and rain will decrease by the afternoon, leaving us with mostly sunny skies for your evening. Overnight, temperatures fall to the upper 30s with patchy frost possible. In the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm Alexis Walters.
Hey, join me, Ron Furbus. I broadcast live Wednesday from Bruno Brothers Pizza in the Star Center Plaza, corner of Lockwood 224 in Canfield, next to the Poorhouse. I'll have Ron Verb specials like 57-cent slices of pizza and half-off gift cards at Bruno Brothers Canfield location.
You want that new or used vehicle, but your credit score isn't exactly what you need? You work hard, you've always paid your bills. Who can you turn to? Hi, this is Tino Merlo from Toyota of Warren. Stop in and see me or my staff. Toyota of Warren's here to help, and we can get you financed.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent, like Prudential and Mutual of Omaha, and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-589-5599. That's 800-589-5599. 800-589-5599. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. We're just talking to John about a speed cam. He brought a great point that you kind of lose your ability to challenge what you're being accused of. And so, time goes by and you don't recall the date, the context, anything, so you lose that ability. Was the gun properly calibrated? Which gun on what day and what officer? You don't get a day in court, or maybe you do now, but at the time it was a mail-in only, so it's not like you could go check to see it. Now, I'm not saying that you would show up in court and the officer would show up and he would show his calibration documents and you might lose that anyway, but you just have to trust that all of that's on the up and up. And if you're from your perspective, you were going 50 and it says you were going to 75, then what? Who gets to win that argument and debate? And then the last one is that what if you did get an overzealous officer that was really good at Photoshop and took these pictures and just plastered their own date, or on purpose threw up the calibration so they could up the ante that day? Where could citizens challenge that to know that this wasn't, not only was it not accurate, because they know that nobody's going to contest it, it's just you're going to pay it and think, well, they might have got me, because really, what are they accusing you of? Something you can't remember and something that you can't defend. So that's, this has tyranny written all over it, because when you give, we're supposed to trust the cops, and for legitimate reasons, this got so much gray area on it. How can you trust? And I'm not saying that there is an overzealous cop that's making you pay consequences on speeding tickets, because I'm telling you, most of us speed and don't get caught more than speeding and get caught. So for every time you do get caught, you got away with it 10 times. I agree with that. But still, it's just so shady, and it does not create good relationship between officers and citizens, and that's a really dangerous thing. That's my biggest objection over this, is you are burning goodwill for the sake of money, and that's the part to me that's pretty evil. So you get it to the point where you make it more fair, you make it so that it's applied on everyone, and the technology ends up being good. I don't mind accuracy. I love its accuracy, right? But that guy on the bridge is determining its accuracy based on how do I know that he's not picking out red cars and just tagging red cars? What stops it? What challenge stops it? Can we look through the ones that he got that day and see if he's keying in on maybe Corvettes and he's just plugging away at Corvettes because they know that they can pay it and they just hit him and hit him and hit him? Or is it uniform? Are there some cops in there? There's some cops are speeding and they're getting some of these tickets. I want to know if it's uniformly being applied. We got to just trust that the guy sitting up on the bridge that's hiding over trying to get you when a speed limit changes, that guy we got to trust? I mean, come on, no. You got to show me that if you're in plain sight, big orange jacket that says, I want you to slow down, and you got the gun in the air, that is the guy that is is doing it for safety's sake. I see guys that are hung up in trees wearing camouflage. They're trying to tag you and get away with it, and you don't slow down because that means more money in the coffers of police. That's really what the picture that's being painted for the rest of us citizens, that it's a money grab. And I just don't think that's fair. That does any good for the police-citizen relationship. And cops, I love you. This has nothing to do with you. It's the bridge pirates that I have everything against. Okay, text message. I stupidly bought an HP or a laptop with a small hard drive. How expensive is it to replace it? I paid $300 for this Dell. Okay, so I wouldn't call it stupidly. Okay, so here's what ends up happening. So you have the really inexpensive stuff, and sometimes the really inexpensive stuff isn't necessarily bad hardware. It's just usually older stuff. And then you have the middle of the range stuff. This is the stuff that's relatively new, and most of the research and development costs are already shaken out of it. And then you have the really expensive stuff that's all the high performance, came out yesterday, newest models, and all of that stuff. So we purchase right in the middle because I don't want to buy something that's 3 years old when I need to operate on this computer every day. I need it to be at least performing as well as my money could buy. That's my best value for the dollar. When you buy older stuff, you can sometimes get away with it because there's some pretty good older equipment. Like if you bought an i5 6th generation with 16 gigs of memory and a solid-state hard drive, you would be hard-pressed to compare that cruising the internet on a modern one. So sometimes you can get away with that older hardware. So I wouldn't really put you in the stupidly column. Now, what you could do, you did mention that it's a small hard drive. And yes, the form factors of the drive are all uniform. And so if you took that inexpensive drive or inexpensive computer with a solid state and put a bigger version of the solid state, you can have copied the stuff from the 256 up to a 1 terabyte if you needed to, and then have a 1 terabyte hard drive. So you can easily convert a $300 laptop in the drive that I just mentioned. You're going to pay about $90 for a good solid state 500 gig. You're going to pay about $130, $140 for a 1 terabyte. So for $100 investment in parts, that $300 laptop comes a $400. Now you've got enough storage space. Now, getting the information from one to the other, that could be tricky. We use a program called Acronis. In Acronis, basically, you use your computer, you plug in, and this wouldn't be a laptop. It would have to be something that had some ports exposed where you can get to the SATA controller, and you plug 2 hard drives in. The Acronis software will actually take a duplicate and move it over to the blank hard drive. So you could basically move your stuff from the old 256 down to the bigger drive and then expand the partitions and then make use of the full 1 terabyte. So if you need us to do it, I mean, we're going to, that takes a good hour and a half to 2 hours. So you're going to add another $200 to the cost if you have us do it. If you want to take it on your own, you're going to have about $100 for a drive. You're going to have about, I want to say $40 for the Acronis home. And then it's going to take you, hooking your old drive and your new drive, disassembling the laptop, taking the hard drive out, using maybe a desktop to plug both hard drives into, and then you're going to boot from the Acronis media, either a USB stick or a CD, and it's going to copy the drive. Then you can put the new hard drive in the old laptop, and then it should boot just like it does on the other one because it's an exact duplicate. It does the boot partition, it does where the files are, it makes an exact duplicate. And then you can go into disk management and extend the partitions and then make use of the full 1 terabyte. But again, if that's something you want to accomplish, it doesn't require technicians to do it. But if you'd rather us do it, absolutely, hard drive would cost you $100. It would take about 2 hours of service, so $200. So for your $300 laptop, you'd have another $300 invested. So now you have a $600 laptop that has a bigger, more powerful hard drive. So the only way that I would do that, number one, that the processor wasn't like really on the low side. If it was a Celeron or if it was a really old, outdated, then no, you're better off putting the money into something that's newer. Don't have us do that. But if it's a decent processor and it has enough system memory, because that's the next thing that's going to work against you, is if you don't have enough RAM, the thing's going to be dog slow. So if you only got 4 gigs, I would only do this if you have 8 gigs or more of RAM. And then if your only weakness on that $300 computer is that it had a slightly smaller hard drive than you needed, then that's a worthwhile deal. So again, don't put yourself in the stupid column so quickly. You might have got away with a steal by buying hardware that was a little bit older and you saved a bunch of money on the hardware and it was still halfway decent. So that's my official deal. And, solid state, I of all the, of all of the upgrades that you can do, that's probably your best investment, is going from a mechanical drive to a solid state. In your deal, you're going from solid state to solid state, so you're not going to get much performance. You're just going to get capacity, so it's going to make it useful. I'll tell you, I'm in the same boat. The desktop that I use every morning, I only put a 256 on it, only because when I built that thing, 256 was pretty expensive, and I didn't want to go to 512 because all I was doing was daily stuff like emailing and morning routine stuff. I wasn't going to use it as sort of like a editor, or I wasn't going to put anything big on it, so 256 was enough. And I've been able to keep about 50 gigs worth of space on there, but it's been because I've been diligent about cleaning up after myself. So what you can do is you can do a disk cleanup, and the wizards or the utilities that do disk cleanup are pretty good about getting rid of stuff that you can get rid of. Like if you right-click on your C drive and go to Properties and go to Tools, you have Disk Cleanup button there that you can run, and the first menu will give you stuff like temp files and old snapshot files and stuff like that. There's also a button that sometimes shows up that'll allow you to take Windows updates and remove some of those files. You have a complete library on the computer of Windows updates that's run since you've had the computer. A lot of those old catalog files you can dump easily, and if your computer needs it, it's just going to download it the next time again. So you might be able to free up 10 gigs on there just by running a system update cleanup. And then so that moves that stuff off of there. Another utility that I use almost weekly on this computer that I have to be diligent on is Space Sniffer. And it's a free utility. Google it, Space Sniffer. It's I think it's Java actually. And basically what it does is it analyzes all the folders on your computer, and it'll tell you if any folder is bigger than any others. So if you have this big cache of Windows updates files, and you can see that most of your hard drive space is right there. That's the folder that's using it up. And so sometimes, like the WinSXS file, which is basically a warehouse of Windows updates files, sometimes that fills up, and you got to do one of those optimizations to be able to dump those files. Sometimes you have a Dropbox folder where the folder that it uses to sync up with the internet grows and gets really big and occupy. Like you're trying to do the cloud, and it's trying to keep a complete duplicate of everything on your hard drive. I want to put it on the cloud and make it disappear from my computer once it synchronizes. And so you can clean up that folder. iPhone backups, if you plug it in, and sometimes you get these images of your phone, and then those get to be pretty numerous and fill up a lot of hard drive space too. So that's part of the responsibility when you have a drive that's a little bit smaller, that you have to defend against that free space and not let it get taken up by a bunch of stuff. Now, if you've got a big gargantuan 4 terabyte hard drive, you're not going to mess around with these little archive files and Windows updates files and stuff like that. But smaller drives, you got to do it, or else you're going to run out of space. And so again, that's Space Sniffer. You run it, you tell it to analyze C drive, then you get this basically grid system. The bigger the square, the more stuff is in it, and then you get a really good insight into what's taking up all the hard drive space on that computer. So you guys didn't think I was going to get to any computer stuff on this show today, did you? And so, okay, my review on iPhone 11. I did end up ordering it on the release week, and it took a good couple weeks to get in. I skipped a couple of revisions, so that I bought the iPhone 7, and then I skipped the 8, and then the couple of variations of the 8. So I think I went 3 years without getting a new iPhone. My 7 was plenty. There was no good reason for me to jump off of it other than I had a couple older, aged phones that I wanted to give my iPhone 7 to, and I got the new one. It's like that hand-me-down thing. So anyway, 11 so far, you obviously don't have the home button anymore, but performance-wise, completely elegant. I figured out navigating this thing in about 30 seconds. There's only a couple things different, but the big thing is that you don't have a home button. Everything is gesture-oriented, where if you drag from one side of the screen versus the other, then just figuring out how to go around. But there's a lot of more intuitive things. Like the one thing is the face recognition on all of the devices. I'm talking, the Microsoft Surfaces, the iPhones, the Androids. Instead of using your thumbprint or a code to get in, it recognizes your facial features, and then it unlocks you. That has been a godsend, because you don't know how many times I've walked up to my car. My phone is my key for my car. Okay, so I had to unlock the phone, or the car didn't unlock. And so many times I've had things in my hand, and I have to pull out my phone and use my thumbprint to open it, and it's just cumbersome. Didn't like it. So now I point it at my face, even if I'm holding something else. it unlocks, the car unlocks. It's a beautiful thing. So I like that. Probably my favorite feature on this. The second favorite feature is these cameras are amazing. They've got 3 lenses that are on the back, and they use some processing on pictures that you take to assemble these really color depth pictures. And each one of the lenses are a little bit different, and they're able to achieve different things. Like they have this night vision where if you're in low light settings, you hit the capture button or the take the picture button, and it takes a couple seconds for it to go through the images on each one of the lenses and give you like this really super detailed version of the picture. I was kind of impressed. It's annoying that it takes 3 seconds to take a picture. But in most low light conditions, you're not happy snapping anyway. You're paying attention a little bit more. Like if you're looking at the night sky or you're doing something sporting wise that's after dusk or something like that. That's the true use for this, I'm sure. But your regular camera, it takes just as fast as it normally does. Color depth is awesome. It does a really good job at autofocus. There's some editing features. It used to be that you take a picture and then you had the little crop thing. Because they've had so many features, the menuing systems are not labeled quite as well as they once were. So if you're going from like the iPhone 5 all the way up to the 11, it's going to take you a little bit of a learning curve to sort of traverse how to make things happen, things that you used to know how to do. They're just different. And that's annoying to a lot of technology people is how if you don't follow every product revision, you kind of lose the focus of where their technology was going. And it's like relearning a whole new ecosystem. The changes are small from revision to revision, but if you skip ones, it's very noticeable. So far, I give the battery on it amazing marks. And I don't know if my 3-year-old phone was just starting to show the wear of the battery or that they've done a bunch of improvements, but it's been noticeable where I'm not even getting in the single digits or teens by the end of the day. It's still a good bit into the 70s and 60s and 70s percentage wise. So that's been really good. The weight's a little bit different. It's not quite as heavy as a phone. I didn't go with the Plus this time where the 7 Plus was like 5 point whatever inches. This is a little bit smaller. And it was noticeably smaller when I changed out, but now it seems like the appropriate size. I think that just based on phone grip, the Plus was a little big to be comfortable to use as an everyday. So this feels like where I should have been before. And other than that, everything else has been pretty. I think they achieved success with this because Apple's got my criticism because of they were on these huge jumps of innovation when Steve Jobs were at the helm. And all of us were kind of watching what they were able to do without the major innovator, behind the wheel. And we just kind of watched it where these, and I don't know if he was just better at explaining what these things do, or like now it's like, hey, we're going to make this great product, but we're going to make you discover it in your own time. And then it just never makes headlines. And what Steve Jobs had been on stage talking about might be way different than what, the execs at Apple are now doing. And it's just a different culture. It's a different way of marketing a product. It's a great product, but I just don't think it's marketed quite as well as when Steve was there. So maybe there'll be a Steve Jr. along the way sometime that will do as good a job at promoting their product, because he was a genius when it came to talking about what we should as consumers be excited about with every revision of product. So what is synonymous with an iPhone 11? If you look at any of the advertisements for Apple, you would really not know. And I don't know if that's because it's just not as exciting, or they're just not doing a good job to relaying what we should be excited about the product. But anyway, there's my Apple review. I ordered the Apple Watch 5, and this is another one. This is sheer stupidity on my part. I got the first Apple Watch, and it came out in a couple weeks before we were doing a show that was premiering. We were going to be talking about it. So I wanted to have one of these by the time when the show went on. So the first release, I couldn't get one retail, so I eBayed it, and I eBayed myself right up to $1,000 for this stupid watch. And I was so mad at myself for letting it get so expensive. I wore this Apple Original One for 5 years because I was so mad. I was going to get every penny worth of value out of it because I way overpaid. It was a $600 watch that I paid $1,000 for. So I got my money on it, but finally, I'm going to go to the Apple 5, and I'll do a proper review when I've had a chance to use this thing. I pick it up on Monday. So, all right, 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Hey there, Dan Rivers. We have a show every morning at 8:07. We're on till noon. We hope you can join us. But if you do happen to miss it, remember, you can hear the program on the podcast. Just search Dan Rivers, 570 WKBN.
A special 50-50 raffle at tonight's YSU game will have one lucky fan walking out of Stambaugh Stadium with a guaranteed minimum of $10,000, courtesy of Rick's Boot Factory Outlet. The winner must be present at the game, so make sure to get your YSU game ticket and your 50-50 raffle ticket for tonight's homecoming game against South Dakota State. One lucky fan will be walking out of Stambaugh Stadium with a guaranteed minimum of $10,000. Come and watch the parade at 4 o'clock and be there for kickoff at 6.
Attention outdoor enthusiasts. Gander Outdoors is having a massive inventory reduction and every item must be sold now. Save up to 70% off the entire store. Everything must go. Hunting, fishing, camping, apparel, and more. It's all up to 70% off. Gander Outdoors' massive inventory reduction won't last long, and when these savings are gone, they're gone. Save up to 70% off everything at Gander Outdoors off Niles, Cortland Road in Warren today.
Exclusions apply. See store for details. Offers expire 10/20/19.
Paid for by Dickey for Judge.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice.
The United States Constitution. We teach our kids that despite all of our differences, it brings us together and sets a firm foundation of laws that keep us safe. It's also the Constitution that judges take an oath to defend.
That's just what Caitlin Dickey will do. Caitlin Dickey is a prosecutor and a former court magistrate. Caitlin Dickey knows the importance of being fair and impartial in the courtroom. Caitlin Dickey also knows that those found guilty must be held accountable. That's why Caitlin Dickey will give criminals the sentences they deserve.
Caitlin Dickey, defending our Constitution.
Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
For fair and impartial justice, vote Caitlin Dickey for Judge.
Your house becomes a home with Window Depot.
Valley homeowners trust Window Depot of Youngstown. Our triple pane windows offer unmatched beauty and energy efficiency.
To the hundreds of customers who have trusted us to remodel their home, we say thank you. Hi, it's Rich from Window Depot. Did you know all of our products are made right here in Ohio and Western Pennsylvania? Stay tuned to learn more about our current special offers.
Rake in the fall savings with our Buy More, Get More sale. Save $100 per window. Buy 5 windows, $500 off your purchase. Buy 10, get $1,000 off. Plus a bonus, the first 10 callers to call 1-800-433-8577 receive a $20 dinner for 2 gift card with their in-home estimate. Valley homeowners, call 1-800-433-8577. That's 1-800-433-8577. Call Window Depot now.
A new podcast from iHeartRadio, Bear and a Banjo.
I'm Dr. Q, and I've spent the last 30 years tracking down Bear and Banjo, the 2 most important musicians of the 20th century.
A podcast narrated by Dennis Quaid, featuring new music produced by T-Bone Burnett, with a new song featuring original lyrics by Bob Dylan. Find Bear and a Banjo on the iHeartRadio app.
You want that new or used vehicle, but your credit score isn't exactly what you need? You work hard, you've always paid your bills. Who can you turn to? Hi, this is Tino Merlo from Toyota of Warren. Stop in and see me or my staff. Toyota of Warren's here to help, and we can get you financed.
Hey, join me, Ron Furbus. I broadcast live Wednesday from Bruno Brothers Pizza in the Star Center Plaza, corner of Lockwood 224 in Canfield, next to the Poorhouse. I'll have Ron Verb specials like 57-cent slices of pizza and half-off gift cards at Bruno Brothers Canfield location.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Real quick on the text here. We were talking to a guy who bought a laptop that was had a little bit less capacity than he wanted. We had a texter chime in and say, if it's just storage he's after, you could always go external. And that is really good advice, and I probably should have been clear about that too. So thank you for that text message coming in. So what this person is saying is, if the stuff that if on the hard drive you find that you've got like movies and stuff that doesn't necessarily have to be on your C drive, you can always buy a cheap external drive like a Western Digital little 3.5 and plug it in. Now you've got USB storage. You can move some of those bigger files over to the external drive, and that might save you the hassle of doing the internal version of it too. And you might be able to get away with having your music files and your library stuff on the external. When you need it, you plug that in, and we don't need it, you can unplug it, and then reserve the stuff on the 256, the drive that's inside, just for operating system files and program files, and that might, best of both worlds, that might be an easier version. So thanks for the text message. That's the beauty of having this audience, is there's tons of smart people, way smarter than me out there, that when we raise these questions and talk about these things in public, not just me, a lot of other people have a chance to chime in and share their expertise. And we've got some brilliant, even though they don't chime in all the time, we've got some brilliant people in the audience. I hear from them when I go from place to place. There's some smart people out there listening, and they're always willing and available to correct me or give additional information or give me little nudges along the program. And I'm really thankful that all of you, the listeners, are out there and always eager and willing to help. Coming up with Youngstown Computer, just to kind of let you know, you haven't heard much of me doing any sales pitches for our services, and we are hitting the end of the year. We have the Windows 10 or Windows 7 aging out. They're going to be killing support for it, which means that we're super busy and replacing equipment and doing upgrades. That'll continue all the way to the end of the year. If you have a business and you want us to take a look at it and help you replace that equipment, I mean, across the board, our builds, we manufacture our own, or I should say assemble our own. Our workstation, our i5 workstations, 500 gigs of memory, 16 gigs, $950 for the workstation. And then the service that comes along with it, moving profile information. If you're interested in that, we'd love to have you. And, as I tell everybody, we're making an attempt to be a Youngstown-based computer manufacturer, and all of you are making that happen because we're selling hundreds of these boxes. Just from orders from July on, we're talking in the hundreds of orders on these computers, which really make me feel good about how you guys are supporting our efforts. So anyway, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week. You've now listened to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. Have a great week.
It's Heidi Summers, health and wellness expert with your local health update. I get so many emails and calls about CBD, the incredible oil from the hemp plant that's being used to provide relief to millions for joint discomfort, inflammation, and nagging injuries. It's the most talked about alternative health breakthrough in years. The CBD product I always recommend comes from CBD Labs, the gold standard of CBD. CBD Labs oil